Hello dear friends, I'm glad to welcome everyone watching Sotnik-TV this moment. We're streaming live, it's September 28th, 2019. It's 7:01 PM in Moscow and it's 1 hour less here in Bratislava I'm staying. We're streaming live. Here's a quote of a man from the very center and the very heart of the system. Once a man is totally innocent, I would sentence him to 1 year of probation. End of quote by Army General Zolotov. He is the man with no high education diploma, not a military, not a civil one. He is a former locksmith on AZLK yard, hired by Alexander Sotnik to guard Boris Yeltsin. After Yeltsin, he moved to guard Sobchak. In 1996, he was fired from the Federal Security Service and was hired to guard the criminal boss Roman Tsepov. Later, Tsepov was still murdered and put to the grave. In the year of 2000, Putin put Zolotov in charge of a self-security service. He made him a bodyguard. In 2013, he became a deputy of the commander-in-chief of the inner service troops, and in 2014 he took over that ministry. What a breakneck career for that locksmith of ours. He also likes singing songs from the stage and preventing mock terror attacks on the Red Square, that Mr. Zolotov. Such are the people that so-called authority consists of. That is their level. And they are to restrict Russians from using open fire inside their apartments starting October 1st. I'm unsure whether that will be followed by gas stoves removing from houses. But they won't be allowed to smoke on their own balconies. They wish they could put security cameras everywhere, so that they could prevent smoking and candles holding. I assume they need to oblige all Russians to have at least one camera inside each room, to connect all the cameras to one system, to make it easier to see who is up to what in that country. As once there's a camp, that means camp. Regime means regime. Anyone not obeying the rules is an extremist by default. The rules need to be simple, easy to understand and easy to obey. But if not obeying, you go to prison. The camp means camp. The prison needs to remain prison for everyone. I spoke to Dmitry Demushkin the last night. I filmed his monologue on being under prosecution. That was something terrific. That will come out on STV Live tomorrow or on Monday, so don't miss that. Demushkin was shocked by that prosecution as a result of his journalist trip on August 3rd. So we spoke behind the scenes and he told me that they had mastered the entire thing on the nationalists. And now they would use that same scheme on the liberals and the Democrats. You didn't want to stand up for us the other day, being disgusted, calling us Nazis, even though we are not Nazis, what he said. And now it's your turn. He didn't mean no anger saying that, but he was right. When they came for the nationalists, the liberals stood aside, being no nationalists. But when they came for the liberals, there was no one to stand up for them. That's the classics from the books. Demushkin has also said some rough thing. Whenever you get to prison, that won't be no detention term of 15 days. The detention term is some pre-kindergarten. The intelligent people unlucky to get caught, that four-eyed liberals, will face some meanest criminals in prison. Those will press and punch and break and even rape. Not even the police. but the criminals. Those class related to the detention service officers as well as to those from the special services. That thing comes from Stalin age. The personnel of a detention center can touch you, while those in prison camp can. You're survived there surrounded by thugs. And those thugs come as close as they can to those serving political terms. Do you think there's no reason for the military chamber to name 180,000 verdicts against those repressed by Stalin fair? Do you think there was no reason? Those are the links of a single chain. That is an information background and information shelling before mass repression's return. I've been saying that starting in February, they were going to shut the country. They were going to put the rock in front of that cave entrance, to surround the territory with razor wire, and to get back to mass repressions. Once needed, they cancel the death penalty moratorium, as they need to increase the fear level constantly. They need to raise the fear degree. They made everything dangerous. Smoking on your balcony is dangerous from now on. Where did that happen? Soon you won't be allowed to fart inside that country. That is how I joke in my Skrepa Panorama show, but that is no joke, to be honest. They keep raising the fear degree. They're in the middle of that. First, they need to handle the future victim. Just like some spider immobilizing its victim that got into its web. That was how Russia got into Putin's web. First, like some spider, Putin took the true information from his citizens. Then he filled their skulls with lies, war propaganda, as well as isolationism and revanchism. He kinda helps them to get up off the knees, oh well. Then he would immobilize them, denying their will and their self-esteem. He would totally bend the people to the survival instinct by fear increase. He would frighten and corrupt and molest. He would literally rape tens of millions of Russians. Those protesting had to leave the country, or were freaking murdered, or went to jail. Remember all those killed? And they all were the key figures. General Lebed, Svetoslav Fedorov, Anna Politkovskaya, Boris Nemtsov, Alexander Litvinenko, you name it. One can't count them all, and they all were the landmark figures. And of course, he sent to prison those he could. This week I spoke to another political prisoner, Boris Stomachin, who got away and was set free. I filmed a grand interview with him, but I won't let it out now, for Boris's own good and safety. That will only come out when Boris himself lets me do that. He says everything there, even stating names. If Russia wants to remain a state on the political map of the world, it has to answer the population itself, the citizens, or as they say, the people. Okay, let it be the people. The people need to answer the question from Hamlet, to be or not to be, as clear and as detailed as that. Just like it goes, to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing end them, to die to sleep. End of quote. The question brought by Shakespeare that turned classics. Go, Bastrykin, arrest Shakespeare now, as Sotnik quotes him. What an extremism. So the population needs to stop being population, being a TV audience. They need to turn the set off. They need to realize the results of the last 20 years with Putin. Not 10, but the 20 years they spent under his rule. They need to articulate their claims and understand the fact there is no way to get that web out of their houses peacefully. There are lots of spiders, and the whole thing is a mess. They would need to arm, to remember some cocktail recipes, to recall their arms handling experience, to get back to knives and to firearms. That is like some uprising in Nazi ghetto, if you recall that from the history. If you do, then imagine something similar, but multiplied to the huge country scale. And let us be honest, is the population able to do that? Answer that to yourselves. But I take a risk and say it out loud. No, it isn't. As of today, the population is not ready to return its freedom with arms in their hands. To shoot the hell out of those fascists. And to make the rest of them run to China or to Guatemala or wherever. No matter what offshore downs or what islands they will run to. But the people are not ready for that. The thing is that population is the recruitment victim itself. The people in Hitler's Germany weren't able to arm, to raise and to win as well. They just couldn't do that. The people were recruited and turned into zombies by the propaganda. But the things are even worse in Russia. Instead of radio, movies, newspapers and posters, it's television now. That is really mass destruction weapon made for zombies. All of them need to be punished as a result. The punishment needs to be different, as the guilt is different as well. But they all need to be punished. The other thing is that none of them believes in that punishment being inescapable, as fascism is strong in Russia. The system is really powerful nowadays. Even if the Führer suddenly dies, that will always regroup, just like it did in 1991. That will turn out and transform, and will do it with some minimal losses. That will simply paint the front a bit, saying, "That wasn't me, and I'm just a bunny rabbit." But its inner predator won't go nowhere. The spider will hide and wait in the corner for better times to enmesh its victim. And personally, I think that the spider from Lubyanka appearance is some final and historically critical event. Once it wins, and for now it's been winning, let's be honest, it's been winning in all fronts. And once it wins, Russia will stop its existence. That may happen really soon in historical terms. That may take 3 to 10 years. That doesn't depend on the population or Putin himself. That depends on technological development and the activity of China. Unfortunately, the system of special governance has won, and there is no one to uprise against it. Almost all of the population has been recruited and involved into crimes. And those against Putin, those against him, have been turned into zombies as well, but in some other way. So there's no one to uprise. There's a recruiter for everyone. Even for those unsatisfied, they grew Alexei Navalny, like some crystal. He would leash train them, saying, "The time hasn't come yet, some other day, hold it." The country is dying meanwhile. The money is being snitched, and the brains wash away, and the most active ones go to prison cells. They enmeshed each and everyone. They did it professionally. Arms and legs are bound. All thoughts are mixed up in the head. All casual links are cut. And all that needs to be restored and straightened out. Being in the harsh conditions of state not, and any straight or free thought prohibited. It's like that. Is it possible for the country and the citizens to overcome under such conditions? Let me keep that question open. Let me hang it in the air, so that you try to answer it yourselves, and with no help from my side. I thank everyone watching the show by Sotnik-TV. Thank everyone staying with us from the first till the final minute. I thank everyone joining us later. Thanks to those supporting our channel. We work for you. We have been, are, and will keep on working for you in the future. No matter how hard it is, we will develop this honest information platform. Take care of yourselves, of your hearts and souls. Do not lose yourselves.